Hey everyone, good night. Um, I hope it's actually working finally, and I hope you're all doing well. And as I'm continuing to get the hang of this, oh, I think it's actually working. That's like a reason to celebrate. I mean, I haven't been live on YouTube like for a long time because I keep having problems with that. But so here I am. I'm back. I'm officially back now. That's really cool. So please let me know if you're experiencing any issues or um, if there's anything not showing up and stuff like that. It should be fine. Yeah, it's. I can't believe it's all going. Yeah. Like it's happening. Finally. So, thank you guys for joining. It took. I really need to like do something about this mess behind me. Like that's something I'm definitely still working on, getting that done. Like get some more professional stuff. Get it to look good. But you know, I'll just manage to. I still need to finish this painting, so just see if I can move it over a little bit because my camera manages to move like it's sort of move. I better not touch it. So yeah, hope you're all having a good night. I am going to talk a little bit about Kronos and my own experiences with him. In the meantime, feel free to just add in and see if I can have a normal look at the chat right now. And so I'm excited that it's actually working. I can just because with Facebook, yeah, it's all good fun, but I don't have like not everyone who is on my YouTube is on Facebook, so it's just can reach a bigger audience this way. So yeah, what was I gonna talk about Kronos? Well, basically I wanted to share a few experiences of my own, and meanwhile just getting the hang of this new program and stuff. It's always something. You know what happened this time? My tripod literally broke. So I'm just trying to see if there's any way to refresh the whole thing. Let me see if this is. No, I'm not gonna share my video now. What I'm gonna do is I want to see what's going on. See, this is as real as it gets because I don't know what I'm doing. See, now I can see you guys. Hi Demona, hi Rory, hi Mercer, anyone else who's watching. So yeah, let's get started for real now. So I've been working with Kronos for a while now. Had a few evocations with him. If you see this, like this is just my screen. I'm kind of going back and forth between the YouTube site and the video software that I'm using. That's why you see this sort of light flickering going on. So, yeah, my experiences with him have been a little bit intense. And in the meantime, I would also like to welcome him. Totally forgot to do that. Just giving him a nice beer. It's one of these things with him is that I'm not entirely sure. Look, he's got a Guinness. I'm not entirely sure if he appreciates offerings as such, as in the same way that other spirits do. And it's something to keep in, like if you want to work with him, maybe that's part of what makes him maybe I'd say less suitable for beginners, as you know. He doesn't have. I got a sense that he is like further removed from humanity, and he doesn't really. Well, it's like maybe spirits can get a little bit rusty in human contact and how the human mind works. So I think the first first few times I gave him an offering, like when he got a little bit upset, like what are you, like got a sense that maybe he's trying. He thinks I bribed him or something like that. Am I still on? I think so. Yeah, probably. I just saw my camera going offline, but I should be fine. Yeah. So one of the things I, of course, wanted to talk about with him was about what that whole thing is with being like him eating his children. And what he did basically, like, he ate me, to put it shortly. Like, probably the best way to describe how something, like how it goes, like what happens, is to experience it for yourself. So what he did, like just in that evocation or meditation, I was like, yeah, you're gonna have like maybe a milder, like a less severe version of that experience, but you're gonna have that similar experience for yourself. And I don't know if I can describe like the exact details because of there is privacy for him involved, but I can say that it was not as bad or scary as one would expect. And you know, I could see myself like, you know, become. He's very big, like he's some sort of giant, and you know, traveling through his insides, and what can I share about the next? It's he says something about cleaning. Yeah, I need to clean up my house, but that's another story. um, I guess it can be like rebirth, like a cleaning experience, but it's also like in the mythical sense where he ate his own children. What I gathered from that, from my own experience, was that it's for safety, or simply taking them to another place. There is something inside him that um, can do that. Like he has some sort of portal in him, like something like that. Um, yeah, you know, the thing is that sometimes if you share, like I feel very like I feel a push to share a few things, but there's always a like I'm not entirely sure if that spirit wants me to share that. So that's why I'm kind of looking for words, or sometimes pausing, just to check in if it's okay to share that. Um, yeah, so it's not really like what I really wanted to do with this is just offer a slightly different perspective in how it's not so much about killing his children, but transporting them, keeping them safe, moving them, and allowing them to return when the time is right. And the stones, I can say something about the stones that he in according to myth he ate stones. He was fed rocks. Um, in like to trick him and not eat Zeus. Now I'm not entirely sure why Zeus never went through that cycle, like being eaten. I think that's something maybe that's something to ask Zeus himself. I don't know about that, but so according to myth, that he was fed stones. But what I noticed and what he showed me is that these stones were actually the ticket back. Like, you know, you enter through something, you enter through a door, basically, and at some point you want to return. And that's something and also the stones were like, it was not something, it was actually a very beautiful crystal. So it's like, yeah, it was like a bit of a token or a ticket or some sort of currency maybe. So that, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share, like this sort of a different view on that. And there are of course many other reasons why, you know, this like the Greeks had ancient Greeks had like a different view of that as well, as he is the Titan of harvest, and they kind of saw the eating as symbolic for um, reaping the harvest, you know, like for food, and like the reaping and sowing and the cycle, like basically it's like a cycle of life and death and rebirth, all that. um, so yeah, it's just it's not as bad as it all sounds, basically. um, he's not a villain or some bad guy. And there's also like there's also some versions of the story that say he did it because he went crazy or he went insane, like some sort of desperation. But it's not really what I got from him. It was probably an extreme measurement he had to take, but I don't think I think it was pretty well thought out, like not some sort of crazy action or something. You say, Rory, you say being eaten is a type of initiation. Yeah, I definitely, to be honest, personally, I did feel like, you know, it is in a way, it's also very intimate. Um, you're literally entering that spirit, and that spirit trusts you, and you trust that spirit. Like it, it does have, you know, there's a bond of trust. It's a sign of trust. I mean, being eaten, like being inside someone else. Um, of course, it can pose a danger to the one that is eating you, because you can fuck them up from the inside, for all that's worth, you know. So they have to trust you for that, and also of course you need to trust them to not, you know, to find a way back, like, you know. if it an initiation myth, if it's an initiation myth, no, it could be. There's actually there are a few reasons. Well, it's like I'm not sure if I should say that because I don't want to get in trouble. But I have my ideas on why Zeus never got eaten, and maybe like I could be entirely wrong. Maybe he didn't follow that particular initiation. You know. Um, but yeah, I don't want to like have problems with him or whatsoever. But that's something that's been on my mind. Like also maybe Zeus isn't actually Kronos' son. That's another thing I've been thinking about. All keeping it like hypothetically. It's a few things that cross my mind. I could be entirely wrong on that, so please correct me if so. Um, yeah, it could be. It could be an initiation. Maybe it's like different layers of things, like different reasons for doing that. Yeah, it could be like initiation to a higher level. Yeah, um, to be kings of their own, maybe. I mean, if you look at Belial and Hades, Belial basically, I sometimes use Poseidon and Belial as interchangeably because to me they are so very very similar. It's like just one is slightly darker or something. But so yeah, Belial is as Poseidon is Kronos' son, and yeah, I can see that maybe he got elevated after that initiation, maybe, but that's something that would be something to discuss, I think, with Poseidon himself. Like, see what his story would be. Like, how did he experience this being eaten? Because what I'm sharing right now is my own experience with that. And of course, in meditation, it's always a sense of there's always a sense of distance. Like you can wake up from it and stuff. So it's always maybe slightly a bit less intense. So yeah, let me see what else did I want to discuss. There's a lot of things I want to talk about concerning Kronos. There's just so much. I think there's so much misunderstanding around this being, and of course, he's like the typical demonized villain, I'd say. But on the other hand, some people say he's like this gentle father figure, and he is. He can be very friendly, but I also feel like there's a lot of anger in him. Um, as I think he is currently, I would say, in exile, some form of exile. And that kind of relates back to that offering. Like, I got this feeling that he didn't understand the idea of offerings. And or he wasn't entirely sure. He was like, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? And part of it could be maybe that for so long people haven't worked with him that he's just kind of got rusty. But there's also, he is such a primordial being, and he is so very very old. he's older than most of the spirits we work with, most of the demonic beings. Like he's their grandfather or something like that. And I think in the meantime also because um, you know when this whole thing happened with like what one would call a downfall, the veil like um, yeah, or the cosmic prison. There's something about Earth's frequencies dropping so low that it doesn't support the spirits that are higher up anymore. Like this realm, like this, such as the likes of Kronos, for instance. He can probably drop down to a certain degree, but I don't. I think because of the circumstances, right, as they are here in this realm right now, it's very much of a hassle for these types of spirits to be here, and they can manifest, but they will do so at a very high, like higher than what we're used to, and it's just it's a frequency that this place cannot really deal with just yet. So I think in a lot of cases to actually make contact with Kronos, you would probably do well to have another spirit with you, like a mediator. Sorry, my dog is making noise in the background. This is I think this is actually one of the first times that I have my dog around, like he's walking around on the loose. I'm just trying to see if that works, if he's not gonna knock things over, but he's doing well. um, that shows too, you know. I mean, basically, I'm pretty sure Kronos is here, sort of, or just making contact. And my dog is fine, so it's not like he's a big evil bad being. But yeah, that kind of like with the offerings, that is something you do for the spirits that are able to reach those, basically. And well, I am giving him something just in case he can reach it, and um, as a form of politeness, just to be sure. But you know, I think that in these older, higher beings, it's sometimes it's too much of a hassle, and I had to tell him, like, it's just, you know, as humans, we like to give. Um, it's a sign of respect, and that's when he's understood. Like he took it, and I think he took it more out of politeness towards me. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, the Titans are separated from us. But there's of course so many different versions of this, like similar stories throughout several cultures. I mean, it can be like, yeah, the downfall. Uh, I mean, some say this place is hell, basically. But yeah, whether we're talking about the veil or the cosmic prison, or what I'd like to call it, it's more like a drop in frequencies. That's what I think happened, and not just the Titans. I think it affects many beings that are just too high up, and a lot of them I don't think they really care. I mean, I can understand if you've like been there, done that. This is, I mean, this place, Earth, it's like the ghetto, basically. like it's not a, yeah. I mean, I enjoy life, but I can see that some spirits really don't want to be here or don't feel like being here. But it's just kind of going on to the next subject I wanted to discuss. I feel like Kronos is very much also of the earth. I mean, he's a titan of harvest, and I think he's coming back for something, even if it's just to raise the frequencies. But I think it's more like things need to be prepared for his return. I'm not exactly sure why he left. If he was, there's a lot of, what the hell is that? Hmm. There is a weird noise. I'm not sure if that's outside or if that's in my house. I cannot identify that noise. I'm not sure if you guys are hearing it too. It was like, it could be Kronos himself. He tends to make this sort of singing sound. But yeah, a go-between would be Hecate. Yeah, could be. I think any spirit that that you are close with, because that's um, the original job of a demon. Is to travel and translate and mediate between those spirits that are so high up that they can't or don't want to reach our frequencies anymore, and us. And the demons are in between, so they can move back and forth easily. Hey, Bella. So yeah, I'd say any spirit that you trust, and any spirit, any being that is trustworthy to you. For me, I personally, I went through Azazel. Um, to me, Azazel is actually Aries, but yeah, it's something. What's interesting is that I think a lot of people confuse the planet, uh, especially. I think this is very um, prevalent. Is that a right? Is that a word? Like I see that happening a lot. That that the planet Saturn is confused with the god or the titan Kronos, and with that, you have to keep in mind that these planets were discovered later on and named by humans. So Kronos doesn't have to be Saturnian or Saturnine, not per se. I haven't, and like I said, I feel he is more of the Earth, like closer linked to that. But I could be wrong in that as well. Uh, I mean, the same counts for Poseidon. Poseidon would be Neptune, but I don't think he is linked to the planet Neptune. That's just, and the same like so Azazel is linked to planet Saturn, and that's kind of something I was thinking about, like how come he offered to help me reach Kronos if he's linked to planet Saturn but not necessarily to the god Saturn. And then I started thinking, okay, if Azazel is Aries, he is, of course, through his Greek aspect, he is, of course, linked to Kronos, through by blood, like by DNA. So it does make sense. It does make sense that he's able to direct me to his grandfather, or maybe his father. I actually kind of feel that he is more is a more direct son than Ares would be, because I doubt, for some reason I have doubts that Ares is actually Zeus's son, but that could again be wrong. I just feel he's more of a direct connection to Kronos. And I think that's there's a lot of confusion there. Uh, there are Saturnian spirits, of course, and spirits linked to planet Saturn, but those spirits don't necessarily share any connections with Kronos. And it's just, I think that with this particular spirit, those lines are very, very blurred. I think a lot of people, or some people, might be talking to the spirit of that planet instead. I haven't figured it out fully yet, like this whole thing about discipline and the work ethic and all that, like that is planet Saturn. That stands for that. Kronos is about harvest. Of course, harvest can be work related, I suppose, but I haven't really seen any of that. The drill sergeant type. Maybe I have yet to meet that, but personally, I think that is planet Saturn and not the Titan of Harvest. The same counts for Father Time. That is something. Maybe it's a title that Kronos adopted, like later on, but initially there were two Kronos. Like I don't know. One is Kronos, the other is Kronos. Kronos with a CH. Kronos is the god of time, a Greek god of time, and that's where the words chronologic or chronology comes from. And it's a slight difference in spelling, but still, to me, I think they are different beings. It's just in English the pronunciation would be the same, but that doesn't make them the same gods. So, yeah. Let me see if there's anything. Hi, Daniel. What else did I want to discuss? If there's anything you guys want to discuss, that's fine too. Just let me know. I think there's a little bit of a lag going on. Yeah, Bella, I'm not sure if he was the beginning. It could be. But he also has his parents, like Uranus. I think Uranus and Demeter. So the earth and the sky. Like Uranus was the god of the sky, if I remember correctly, and Demeter was the goddess of the earth, or Titaness. Yeah, according to myth, he did castrate his father. His father being a tyrant, like that was something had to do with to stop the tyranny. It's also like if you look at that, if you take the myths strictly, it's like a line of tyrants almost. Um, Uranos was a, seen as a tyrant, like ruling with the iron fist, um, and very, you know, power hungry. And the same was said about Kronos. And, you know, the reason why he, according to myth, ate his children was to prevent his children from killing him. So, and then according to myth, Zeus takes his place, and I'd say Zeus is a tyrant too. So, it's kind of father to son in that. But I don't know. I have to. I'd like to ask him if he really did castrate his father, or if that's more like because I believe something happened after that castration. It formed a new creation. I believe from that, if I remember correctly, Aphrodite was born from that. Like the Uranus's balls with his semen, of course, hitting the sea and or the earth. I think it was the sea. And if you look at it, like, now that I'm like looking at that, it's actually quite beautiful, because from that, you know, castrating the tyrant, and the goddess of love is born. So that's nice. I'd say that could be a positive outcome of that. Yeah. So I think with all these myths and stories, there's like always some form of a good reason like to it. And a lot of these myths are also not entirely true. As Lucifer once told me, like, myths and stories and biblical stories are myths too, of course. That's the same thing. The but Lucifer called them tabloids. Like, there's a hint of truth, but you know, it's not. There's a lot of human interference, like adding drama, adding extra spiciness. I mean, a lot of these stories were entertainment too. So yeah, his kids. I think maybe Aries is one of his kids too, actually. But that's something I need to ask. And I think Rhea is his wife and sister. But all these dynamics, it's not always the way it's. What we're being told is not always true. Trying to get some more incense. I like that. Now, I would definitely, not advise being eaten yourself. Like, not just something I forgot to say. Like, I did that totally unprepared, and I did that because he asked. I got an invite basically, and I just thought, why not? Let's jump in. But for some reason, I don't think it's to be advised to actually evoke or invoke him and ask him, like, will you eat me? I think it's something you should do on invitation, probably, and after, with a bond of trust first. Definitely something on invitation, I think. Yeah. Oh, you're sitting around the fire. Yeah, that's cool. Nice. I don't. I don't. I live in a small apartment, so no fire here. Sorry, I have to. The chat is a bit slow. There's also this thing, like the cube of Saturn, and that's something I haven't figured out either. If that is connected to the planet or to the god as well. There's so many of these things. I think I'm gonna have to like sift through them. Is that a English word, sifting through? Like which things are Saturnian from the planet Saturn and which are like from the god. Shifts in consciousness lately. Um, yeah, for myself, personally, yeah. But I'm not sure if that has anything to do with, like, on a global level. I've experienced some shifts for sure. Um, Ever since I started working or talking to Kronos, I've been hearing this very, very, very high pitch. Um, Even more so since being Ethan, and I think that's like what Rory said earlier on. I think that whole initiation part might, it made sense to me that maybe that's part of it. Um, but yeah, very high pitched sound, like ultrasonic, and I'm not sure if that has anything to do with Kronos or if it's just, I don't know, tinnitus. I don't think it is, because that's just sounds different. It's definitely weird. It's like a constant, very, very high, like, like those ultrasonic devices. Daniel, your your messages are being like, um, you have to. I think with YouTube you have to watch your language a little bit, because they're not. Apparently, the word "dick" is not allowed to be shown in the live chat. I don't know. It's just. But yeah, like I said earlier, I think Aphrodite was born from his testicles dropping to Earth. So that's a nice. I think that's a nice idea. Turning tyranny into a goddess of love. Oh, it's okay then. It's just like for yourself. If your messages don't like, I'm not the one editing them out. That's YouTube doing that. Oh, don't be sorry. It's okay. So you asked Hades to wrap you in your cloak, in his cloak. That's. I guess that can be a sense of warmth or something. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta watch. Like, gotta be creative sometimes using words. But yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure what Hades' nature is. Like, some people say that Baron Samedi is connected to Kronos because he's Saturnian, but I'd say, like, if I remember correctly, of course, there's his name. Samedi literally means like that's French for Saturday, which is Saturn Day. But I I'm personally not. I've met both. Like I met Baron Samedi, quick, like briefly. I met Kronos, and I'm not feeling it. And I think, as if I remember correctly, Baron Samedi is a spirit of death, like guarding the underworld, and I think he would be more likely linked to Hades. But in the same sense that Azazel or Ares or Ares is, you know, Saturnian and linked to Kronos. Like, it could be linked through a bloodline. Yeah, but that's exactly, Bella, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier, that the planetary signs are not always. Sometimes people assign planets to spirits that are not, like, not connected at all, that just shares a name. So, yeah, just, like, I, I don't, I'm not entirely sure if Kronos is Saturnian, It's just, yeah. I wouldn't know what Hades would be either. I'm thinking maybe I will meet him sometime. And I think as the next Greek spirit I'll be working with is probably either Hermes or um, Ares, maybe Hephaestus, as I see them as the Greek names of some of the spirits that I'm very close with. But yeah, I think this is about it that I wanted to share. If there's anything else you guys want to ask? Otherwise, I might just have a beer myself. I'm just very glad that this is finally working, and I think I will make probably make a portrait of Kronos someday. But yeah, I'm getting a very maybe it's interesting to share how I see him, and it's very close to the image I used in these in the thumbnails that I made for the videos, which is actually from a game. It's from a game called Age of Mythology. And I used to play him. Like, when I was a kid, I would choose to play Kronos. Like, sometimes that's another thing that's very, I've always been interested in this spirit, like, one way or another. I was, as a kid, like a teenager, and I still am very, very much, like, I love this band or musician called Sopor Aeternus, and they have a very close connection to Kronos or Saturn, um, even having a symbol in their logo. And I was listening to that like when I was 15 or so, and basically Kronos told me, like, yeah, I've been around for a very long time, and I think he was just trying to say that maybe by having me listen to these songs, like, he was already knocking, like, just sort of being around or something, opening opening my mind to the idea of talking to him. Yeah, Rory. Yeah, that's very. I was thinking, you know, before I was starting this video, I was thinking like, what is planet Pluto? Um, who is he named after? And I think Pluto would be. Would Pluto be the I think the Roman form of Hades, I think. Not entirely sure. Of course, Neptune is Poseidon and Mars is Ares. There's a few others, like Mercury. Mercury would be um, Hermes, of course. Yeah, I wonder what Earth would be. That's actually very stupid. I mean, Earth is Demeter, of course. I think, yeah. Or Gaia. Gaia, that's. Yeah, I keep, for some reason, I keep messing up between Gaia and Demeter. Like, I keep confusing them. I think, yeah. So, yeah, Pluto is Hades, yeah. But again, you know, doesn't mean that he's connected to the planet, for sure. Like, yeah. What was I getting at? I mean, I think Pluto is also like an ice. You know, I'm not sure what the planetary spirit, like the planetary characteristics of Pluto are, especially from astrological point of view, and if that has anything to do with Hades. But yeah, I had an interesting, like, it had to do with a dream of mine that I was just starting to figure this out. Like, uh, I literally dreamt of the spirit of Jupiter, the spirit of planet Jupiter, and it was not Zeus. And that's how I started thinking of these things. You know, like we name these planets, but they're not. And you know, planets have their own energies too. You can pretty much communicate with the spirit of a planet or with the. Well, maybe not necessarily a spirit, and maybe it's not, but there's some sort of form of energy, a core to that planet that you can talk to. I mean, how many people literally communicate with the Earth? Um, so I think that a lot of people, especially when calling upon um, Saturn in using the Roman name, combined with the planetary sign for Saturn, I think they are most likely communicating not with the Titan or the god, but with the soul of that planet. And I think a lot of books have been written on that, like, but mostly about the planet, like the soul of the planet, and not necessarily the Titan. Yeah, I suppose I don't really work with Hecate, but you know, I think she has this three faces thing, right? With like three faces of the moon or something. But I don't know. For me personally, probably not a good idea to work with that because I don't, I don't know. I don't really get along with the moon. The moon, it usually makes me grumpy. I think it's about time I start wrapping this up a little bit. Starting to lose my voice. You know, I should really find ways to get my voice, like when I talk a lot, just keep my voice going. I'm drinking tea right now, but it's not helping. You think Hecate adopted the moon? I don't know. I don't really know much about her, but isn't she like slightly younger than Titans? Maybe. I think there, I think there was a different. She probably got connected to the moon, but I think there was a different moon goddess. Or maybe they didn't. Yeah. Actually, I shouldn't be talking about things I don't know about. That's for sure. But yeah, there's. I definitely. I really like the Greek system in general. It speaks to me much more than um, the demonic, the typical demonic, or the Hebrew system. For some reason, Hecate is I don't think she is. There's something, some sort of outsider. I mean, her origins are very vague, but as far as I remember, she's not a Titan, but sort of in between. And I believe she might be. I'm thinking she might actually not have Greek origins. Just sort of maybe got adopted, like you know, some of the, what do you call that? Like when the Greeks conquered other lands, like other cultures, they adopted some of that, and there was something about that someone told me, like she's not exactly a Titan, but also um, not the same as the other. She's not an Olympian god either. She's just sort of in between, or some weird, vague status, I'd say. I mean, not that. Of course, this is not that this makes her any less important or doesn't matter, you know. But I don't recall her being a Titan as such. I think Rory, that's exactly. I want to Google it right now, but yeah, maybe she is her own thing, or maybe she's just. There are so many other Greek gods that also did, like they are not um, Olympian per se by blood. They're not so like, but they're still um, very respected and revered. I mean, look at Apollo, for instance. He's like half alien or something. Um, with the Hyperboreans, you know, he resides in two different planes. And that's definitely also a being I really want to look into someday, as I think he's very close with Lucifer. But yeah, so I think Hecate might be one, you know, yeah, one of those, like with the vague origins. It just sort of, and I think I also remember there being two, at some point, being um, two beings with that name, also. But also there was something about Heka, which is actually an Egyptian male god. So I think she might be based on something Egyptian, but I don't know. Like I said, I shouldn't be talking about spirits that I haven't met. I'm sorry that this chat is going so slowly. Really have to wait, like I see, before I see something. But I think it's also just about time to just wrap it up a little. It's almost 5:30 in the morning here, and there's definitely a lot going on referring Kronos. Um, I mean, regarding Kronos, sorry, this wrong use of English there. I mean, there's, yeah, like I said in previous videos, with him coming back, that's definitely gonna be something. And to be honest, you know, some of these things are pretty scary. I mean, with what I saw, with what's inside him, basically what he represents, what he really is, um, his arrival might not go easy. Like, it might actually be something, you know, that's gotta happen, probably, but it could be very painful. Like, but maybe not, maybe it's gonna be fine, but in general, this whole shift, like, energy, our energy has to be shifted. And there are still beings that are trying to keep us in the third dimension while we have to be in fourth. And it's definitely gonna be like some sort of end battle for sure. This is not gonna be easy. Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth sharing and between Greek and Egyptian gods for sure, especially later on. I think the Greek took a lot of Egyptian gods. I mean, if you look at basically King Paimon, um, like I said, I think I mentioned that in earlier videos too. His he is basically like a dark version of the Greek god Ptah, and Ptah was adopted by the Greeks as Hephaestus, and Hephaestus became Pythos in dialect, and from Pythos, he became basically like, yeah, maybe in a bit of a detours and stuff, like less not as simple as I'm putting it right now, but he probably went from Pythos to Paimon, basically. So, and as I see that my camera, I literally MacGyvered my camera, I think it's starting to let go. So, or not. It's very shaky. So, before my camera is dropping off for real, I really, really need to buy some proper equipment or something. But I'm just going to wrap this up. See if you guys have any last questions or comments or whatsoever. I'll just wait a few more minutes, and if not, I'm just gonna wrap it up. So, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope I inspired a few people to open their minds to Kronos, um, especially especially I a lot of the spirits that I work with are considered dark, demonic, whatever, but especially in the Greek systems, there wasn't as much as a divide between good and evil, like black and white, or I mean, spirits could be, the gods could be assholes or very nice, and just not really not that much of a divide like that. I think that's a very Christian or Abrahamic concept. So, but yet, Kronos was vilified later on. I mean, he was just a harvest titan, not. He's basically, in recent times, he's been equal to Satan, I suppose. And I'd say, especially those who are not really into demonic things, or just open your mind to Kronos. Um, See who he really is. Uh, don't let that the popular media and whatsoever soil your view of him. And just that counts for everything, I guess. For all spirits, just talk to them yourself. Ask them yourself. Go straight to the source. So yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some inspiration from it, perhaps, and that maybe this helped open people's minds to different views and different ways to see Kronos, and allow him to indirectly share his version of the stories. And maybe, I did put an offering out for him, so maybe his energy will be seeping through as well. Good night, everyone, and see you guys next time.